Number 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his cold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? It sounds very Hallmark cardy to me. Sounds very poetical. And always trust your instinct when you kind of hear that, when you feel that, when that little gag reflex kicks in, like, ugh, he's writing poetry there. Getting too fancy pants. And that line does find its way into a lot of Hallmark cards and a lot of sentimental writing. But I'm not sure it really compliments the person being addressed. There's something very indolent and lazy about it. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Well, that's kind of your job as a poet, perhaps. But also there's that sense of he could do it or he couldn't. Doesn't really matter to him. Like, yeah, I could. I've got that kind of skill, you know, I can show off a little. Want me to rip out 20, 30 lines on how you remind me of a summer afternoon? Sure, I could do that. That is a common refrain of the Renaissance, a nice little Italian word called sprezzatura, which is the most fun language to say, quite frankly, Italian, and sprezzatura is the most fun word to say in the Italian language. So if you want a party in your mouth, pronounce the word sprezzatura. And what it means is, and it was entirely coined in the Renaissance, it didn't exist before then, as phrased by a guy named Castiglione. The French interpretation of it would be nonchalance. The ability to do something without any effort at all. I can just seem cool while I do this, you know? Shall I compare these to the summer's day? Sure, I can do that. Won't be anything at all to me. It's like falling off a log. Perfectly natural to me. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Summer, temperate? Can be, sure, but you read on just a little bit and summer can actually be kind of hot and sticky and unpleasant. Doesn't dwell too much on the temperate qualities, this poem, and gets immediately to the threat. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. It's already summer, but the darling buds of May are already starting to corrode, are already starting to be threatened by rough winds, the scourge of time. So I could compare thee to a summer's day, but just remember, you're getting older. And you're not the shiny little newbie that you once were. Summer's lease hath all too short a date. Summer is going to be over soon, and then we're into fall. And that's when middle age and the aches and the cranks start kicking in, and you're going to be making noise when you get up out of a chair. And maybe you can't see as well as you used to, and you're, again, getting a little gray and a little paunchy. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often it is his gold complexion dimmed. Again, that sense that even summer is not particularly great. You are decaying at all times of the year. But thy eternal summer shall not fade. See how the poem turns there? After the first, what is that, 8 lines, you get the volta, the turning, where it starts to, it's set up the problem and now it's going to start to develop it a little bit and take another perspective on it. But thy eternal summer shall not fade. You've just been laying out in the previous 8 lines how all summer crap dies, how summer is a mark of it's dying, getting older, time is passing. But thy eternal summer, automatically, that seems false. Shall not fade? Really? In a poem that's all about nature and the real world, the observable universe? Not fade? Everything fades. That's dishonest. Nor lose possession of that fair thou owest? No, I think everything in the poem before that also makes the case that, yeah, you're going to get old and your looks are going to fade and you're going to be kind of hideous pretty soon. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. Now I know it's BS because everybody dies, right? When in eternal lines to time thou growest. So here, Shakespeare is setting up the classic Shakespearean sonnet form, where it is, instead of the Italian model, which was standard for the Renaissance before this, of an octet, 8 lines that set up the problem, and then a sestet, 6 lines that resolve it. Here you're getting a series of quatrains that lay out the problem, and then at the very end you get a couplet, 2 lines that twist it somewhere completely new. And here the new is, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. What is this? The words in the poem. Yeah. That's quite the little ego stroke for the poet. He's gone from, focusing all attention on the subject, giving this young man the steady, relentless advice that he's got to go meet a nice girl and make some nookie. But now he's turning that just a little bit. And he's not above spewing some lies in poetry about how you're special, you're not going to die. But then at the very end, taking credit for all of it, having implied very clearly that this young man is going to get old, is going to get quite hideous, is going to die. He's saying, but you know what isn't going to die? My portrait of you. So value my poetry more than your physical beauty. Value what I can do for you more than what you can do to or for yourself. And significantly, assuming in a poem that is all about the processes of the natural world, at the very end, the poet assumes the role that can confer immortality, which means the poet and the poem become God. The human element here raises itself to the level of divinity, while the notion of divinity itself is subjected to the rules of nature. And also, you have to ask the question, who is this poem addressed to? We don't know. There is no name. So, How immortal is this person? Not terribly. The poem is, thus far at least, 500 years and counting, but not quite 500, 400 years and counting. But the poem is more significant than its addressee.